Hey guys, so today we're going to be filming episode 3 of our podcast. In this episode, we are meeting our local MP, Andrew Gwynne. Do you have anything else to add to this?
As Harrison just said, we are meeting our local MP, Andrew Gwynne. In this episode, we asked him we had a set amount of questions, but obviously through the amount of questions, like obviously explaining he did, we didn't actually get to answer all our structured questions, if you would say that. But in this, we go into like how he feels more than our questions actually asking. So instead of our local MP, he sort of acts as like a parent during this, as he is like a parent to two young girls.
So we asked him some questions like, if like your child comes up to you and says, "But my friends are playing this, why can't I play it?" Do you feel forced to give them that game, like peer pressure?
Or guilty.
So we'll now switch to a clip where we show you the next part. Yeah, sure. So we chose to do stereotyping and prejudice in video games because we're quite into video games, and it's like quite a. It's not really covered, but we think it's quite like an important issue.
Yeah.
So we've done a podcast, we made posters to advertise the podcast.
Yeah.
And we've got a petition on as well.
Okay, brilliant.
So basically, as Harrison just said, it's about that.
Yeah.
And basically for our project, we've like sent emails out to the big companies, such as like Rockstar and Treyarch.
Yeah.
They have very good influence over the whole gaming community. And basically with this, we hope to just raise awareness of how like this violence is very prominent in games these days.
Yeah.
And how whether it changes like a child's behaviour playing that game.
Do you think it does?
Personally no, because I've played a lot of games since an early age and I've turned out fine, I guess.
You're okay, Lewis.
Yeah, I'm okay. But
you don't want to punch somebody's lights out every 5 seconds,
but then you see stories about like, I think it's the James Bulger case.
Yeah.
They played GTA and then they couldn't understand why they just couldn't do it out in real life.
Yeah.
So what's going on sort of thing?
Yeah.
So that's basically my comparison.
There's obviously like two sides to the coin.
Yeah.
Like you can be like we are and think it's a game,
Yeah.
it's completely fictional, and realise why you can't do it.
Yeah.
But then there's obviously people that might think
That can't separate reality from...
because it's like, obviously, certain games look like they are in real life.
Especially now.
Yeah.
I mean, you should have seen computer games when I was your age.
But you hear a lot of it in America, don't you?
You do.
A lot of stuff reported from America with...
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a really important issue here, and it's not just about gaming, it's also about TV programmes and films, that we have become desensitised to violence. So things that actually 30 or 40 years ago you would not have seen in a film, or a film almost certainly would have been certificate 18, now is acceptable in a PG film. And that's the way society's changed, but also we've become desensitised to some things that, you know, if we could get in Doctor Who's TARDIS and go back just 40 years, I think that generation would be really quite shocked at some of the things that we just accept as normal now. But that's been gradual over 40 years, and of course, you know, if you pluck somebody out of a piece of space and time and put them in 40 years later, it would be completely alien to them, and they would be completely shocked at how society's changed. But I think you're right, most young people actually can tell the difference between fantasy and reality, and know there's a moral code, you know that there are boundaries and that those things are unacceptable in real life. I think there's a small minority of people who don't respect those boundaries, but they've always been there.
Yeah.
You know, they existed 40 years ago, 50 years ago, 60 years ago. Even when there were, no computer games, or computer games were basically Pac-Man and Pong and things like
The
that.
best ones.
They were. I always find it really funny because some of my the games that I play on my iPhone now are like very similar to the games that I had on my first computer, which was a Commodore VIC-20. So even before the Commodore 64. Very, very basic games, but massively addictive. Great. Whereas some of the games now are so realistic, and it really is like being there, isn't it?
Especially now that like virtual reality's come out.
Yeah.
Like you can act like a certain person.
Yeah. So what are your favourite games?
Well, this will probably sound very hypocritical, but it has to be violent games for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's just because of the story. Cause
Yeah.
Mainly.
You like to
games-
immerse yourself in it, do you?
Yeah. If a game has a good story, but has violence but has a good story, it balances it, sort of thing. Because then you get like an objective almost.
Yeah.
It's like back in, I think it was 2008 when Modern Warfare came out.
Yeah.
There was a mission in it called No Russian.
Yeah.
And basically this mission was where you were the terrorists.
Yeah.
And you slaughtered an entire airport of just
Yeah.
civilians. And basically this is it was very hard on the player.
Yeah.
But yeah, it went along with the story.
Yeah.
It was very violent
Yeah.
to someone outside the game community.
Yeah.
When you were playing it, it was part of the story and it
Yeah.
gave you insight on why you did it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was like a turning point
Yeah.
to realise why you're going after a certain person
Yeah.
because of this.
Okay.
I found Harrison and Lewis's project really interesting because when I was at uni I did an entire module of work on stereotyping in video games, and we've probably not spoke about my findings enough really, but it is very, very interesting now going towards the stereotyping and discrimination side of it, how video games these days portray certain groups of people within society. And games like Grand Theft Auto is probably, the biggest one that does it.
Yeah.
Do you want to move on to some of your direct questions about the campaign?
How do you feel about the ideas and themes that are being shown to the younger generation, basically?
Well, I think they have to be age appropriate.
Yeah.
And actually they are. When you go into video game stores, it's a bit like when you're buying a DVD or you go into the cinema. They've got age appropriate certification. I think part of the issue is that it is actually very easy sometimes to buy a game that is way over the age. I know, and it would be hypocritical of me not to own up to the fact that my kids have had games that perhaps they were younger than the certification. But actually that's a parental choice of ours. We knew that our children were able to differentiate between reality and fantasy, and it's had no detrimental effect on them so far. They've not gone on a rampage in the middle of Denton town centre yet. If they do, you'll have this video too. I'll be up on a charge for negligence. But I do think there is an issue that some young people can't differentiate between that. But it's too easy to kind of pigeonhole young people, isn't it, as well? I think so long as there are appropriate checks and balances, and that as far as possible there are age restrictions on the games, and there are very clear messages for parents. Parents are aware that those games contain violence or sexual images or whatever. They can then make a decision as to whether that's appropriate for their son or daughter to be playing.
What I like now is, if you go on like IMDb, they have that parental guide so that you can, and they're really detailed, aren't they?
And that's important, so that responsible parents can make an informed decision as to whether or not that's something that they want their kids to be having access to.
So would you almost say, like, in a way, it's society sort of like persuading you to do it, because if it's like, if the group of friends have got this game, and obviously your child wants it, you sort of have to, you don't have to, but it's...
Yeah, it's difficult. There is peer pressure, absolutely. And, you know, I can stop my kids from having the game physically. I can't stop them playing it round at their mate's house.
Yeah. But you almost feel like you're doing something wrong by not having them have this game and play with friends, almost.
Sometimes, yeah, and you know that is a challenge for parents, isn't it? There are some parents that are so disinterested that they absolutely do not know what their kids are up to online, and I think there is an issue there. And then the other side of it is that, as you say, there's not just peer pressure on the kids. If their mates are playing a certain game or accessing certain materials online, there is then pressure on the parents to allow the kids to do it because, oh, it's not fair, my mate Billy's doing it, you know.
Okay, as you've just seen, that was our interview with our local MP Andrew Gwynne. Basically that was all our questions. What you saw was what you get, really. Harrison, anything?
Just to say, we were on quite like a structured time limit, so we had other groups from our school going to speak to him for their coursework, so it may seem quite short, but we were on quite a structured and time limited.
Our top was around 15 minutes, and obviously we only got to do 10 because, like, just general meet and greets and getting there, it was very structured, very time.
Yep. So that's all we have for this episode. We hope you've enjoyed it, and thank you.